Hello everyone, my name is John, I'm the Geeky Fanboy, and first of all, apologies for my absence in the past couple of weeks. I had my wisdom teeth removed, which meant I couldn't talk for a long time without it hurting a lot, but now I'm fine, all the teeth are out, I can eat everything again, I can talk again for hours and hours on end, and that means that I can finally make this video about Legends of Tomorrow Season 6. I threw on my John Constantine cosplay, since he's the reason I initially started watching that show in the first place, and he's also going to be an important character for this review. So I'm a little late with this video, so season 6 wrapped up a while ago already, but I really wanted to talk about this season because Legends of Tomorrow has become one of my favorite shows to watch. It's one of my favorite comfort shows. I started watching it last year during the first big lockdown, and since then I've become very fond of the show. And it's set in the same universe as, Arrow and The Flash, all those shows that I have never seen before. Great qualifications for watching Legends of Tomorrow, but doesn't matter. I'm a huge fan of the show. I was very excited to finally watch season 6, and now I'm gonna give you my thoughts on it. Naturally, spoilers, it's season 6 at this point. There are going to be a lot of wild, ridiculous things in regards to story and the characters. Also, like I said, the season wrapped up a while ago. So, be warned as we go into this review. Okay, first of all, overall thoughts. Then I'm going to talk about some of the new characters that we encounter in Season 6, or some reveals about old characters. Then I'm gonna focus on some of our main characters who get a bit more focus in this season, and then I'm gonna talk about some episode highlights that I enjoyed. So, first of all, overall thoughts. I liked it. It was good, perhaps not as good as like previous season 5 or season 4. Season 4 is still my favorite, so that's hard to beat in my opinion. But overall, I had a lot of fun with it. There were some reveals or new characters or whatever in there that I thought, okay, we're doing that. But at this point, it's Legends of Tomorrow. At this point, you're kind of used to it. Even though you could argue there's a bit of a retcon in there, which we're going to talk about. But overall, I had a lot of fun with it. There were some very funny, very entertaining episodes in this, and some of my favorite characters also got a lot of highlights in some of the episodes. So we do get some characters the show focuses on a bit more. Naturally, we get finally, it's all about planning the wedding between Sara and Ava, which was a lot of fun. We get a new antagonist who I'm going to come back to, Bishop, who was entertaining enough. He was definitely different compared to some of the antagonists we've seen in previous seasons. Not sure how much I enjoyed him. He was good. I maybe did not enjoy him as much as some of the previous antagonists we've seen in the show, but the actor had a lot of fun, you could tell, and he played wonderfully. And I think it was interesting enough to keep up the thrill and the entertainment. So overall, I had a good time with season 6. Like I said, maybe not as good as previous seasons, but still up there in terms of ridiculousness, just the characters having fun. It's still the same old Legends of Tomorrow. Okay, let's talk about some of the new characters. So first of all, we have Spooner, who is our new crewmate on the Wave Rider. She can hear aliens. She has a connection to aliens, and first of all, you think that she is some weird conspiracy theorist, which I thought is kind of funny, and she also kind of stays as that kind of character. But turns out, she's just a young, badass lady, guns blazing, everything, and I like it. I definitely like it. She's the kind of character she's kind of like Mick in that regard, just shoot first, ask questions later, that sort of thing. But there's definitely more to her than meets the eye, especially in regards to her mother. That whole storyline that was very sweet and also kind of sad. And I thought she was a wonderful addition to the team, especially since, as we find out at the end of the season, that Mick is now leaving. I think she is a good replacement, since she, like I said, takes very much often, in terms of, being a badass, loud, out and about character. But she's maybe a bit more caring about others, a bit more open, but still very much, badass, sort of has a tomboyish thing going on, but works very well with most of the other characters, especially like her chemistry with Astra I thought was very, very good, and also with Constantine was cool. So yeah, I think she is a wonderful addition to the cast. So then we also get Kayla. I think I should talk about her since she becomes important to Mick later on, since like she is an alien who impregnates Mick and they raise an alien family together at the end of the show. Bit weird, naturally, bit out of nowhere, as it tends to be with Legends of Tomorrow. But I think it's sweet that Mick, at the end, finds this family that he cares for, that he wants to take care of. Like he says also in one of the episodes, he wasn't there for like for his human daughter while she was growing up. Now he wants to be there for this family that he has with Kayla. And I think that's very sweet. And I think Kayla is the perfect kind of woman for Mick. She kicks ass, she's badass, and there's again more to her that meets the eye, similar to Mick. She's also like super badass and punchy and wants to kill everything, but like deeply, deeply cares about her family and also kind of cares about Mick, as we learn later on. So I think that's cute, and she is connected to Gary, who is not a new character, but we find out something new about him. Namely, Gary was an alien the whole time. I know. Why didn't we know about that earlier? Bit of a retcon if you ask me, especially since they say, his glasses are responsible for, him appearing human. But, I rewatched seasons 3 and 4 recently, and he takes off his glasses in some of those episodes there and still looks human, so that didn't work out. So, yeah, that's a bit of a retcon, that's a bit weird. That's definitely one of those things where you can tell, okay, Legends of Tomorrow just threw that in there to be wacky and weird, because, that's what we do. But, it doesn't change Gary's character. Like, he's still the weird, nerdy guy that we know from, from the Bureau, from the previous seasons. And they basically just add to him now being, this alien, and that he has alien powers, which he actually kind of uses to, explain things, especially like also in regards to Kayla and when Mick gets pregnant and all of that. So in a way, it gives him some extra stuff to do, since he now knows or can reveal that he knows stuff about aliens that he wasn't able or allowed to talk about before, and now he can bring that in, especially also since we don't really see the Burrow or anything like that anymore. Gary sort of needs some other stuff he can contribute when it comes to the adventure, so it definitely is kind of out of nowhere and retcon some of the stuff that happened previously with Gary, but if you just run with it's not really that big of a thing. And the aliens Kayla and Gary are actually kind of cool, like Cthulhu tentacle skeleton warrior thingies look super badass. Next up, there's our new antagonist for this season, Bishop. I already mentioned Bishop is different. He is not like a super villainous, evil, maniacal genius. I mean, he is a genius, and he tells you so multiple times. But he's sassy. He dresses fantastically, if you ask me. Wonderful outfits. And he's very easygoing. Like, he doesn't kill you. He doesn't punch you in the face. He doesn't directly torture you. He's not your stereotypical villain in that regard. And turns out he's actually a clone. He clones himself multiple times, crosses different DNAs. It turns out he's the one who makes the Ava clones, which is super weird if you put yourself into Sarah's shoes. That must be so awkward. Then also turns out that he turned Sarah into an alien clone hybrid thingy, which is something we're gonna come back to. So yeah, lots of stuff going on there, especially between Bishop and Sarah, which I thought was very fun to watch, very interesting, and you can tell how personal it is for Sarah. I like that at the end they brought in like a young version of Bishop to defeat himself. Basically, I thought that was fun. That whole thing at the finale, at the very end, where it's all about Bishop wants only himself and Sara in the world. I'm like, okay, apparently we're doing that now. I don't know. Like, he was fun, but like I already said, he's not as maybe engaging or interesting as some of the other villains we've seen in previous seasons. So he did a fine enough job. He's, I think, memorable enough for Legends of Tomorrow, but nothing too special. Okay, let's highlight some of the other characters, some of our main characters. First of all, naturally, Sara and Ava. This season is all about this couple and how they finally want to get married. And at the end of the season, we finally get the wedding. And the first couple of episodes are all about getting Sara back because she actually wanted to propose to Ava. And it's very sweet. And I like that we get a lot of like emotional focus on Ava, how she deals with this and how she doesn't deal with it, more like. So I thought that was very good. It's also very good acting for both actresses there. And it's just so sweet to see these two together and to finally get married. Like, this is the main couple of the show and they write them wonderfully, I think. And I'm so glad they finally are together, married, and I hope they stick around as a married couple for a long time, because I think that's an interesting and wonderful and endearing dynamic that we got going on there. We got Sara, who I already mentioned gets turned into like a clone alien hybrid thingy. She gets some new superpowers, like she can heal herself, stuff like that, which is dealt with like in one episode and then isn't really that big of a thing anymore until maybe the finale. But that's Legends of Tomorrow. They introduce something, it's like, okay, so our character can do this weird thing now, and then it's like, okay, cool, we're done with that. At this point, I mean, you're in season 6 of Legends of Tomorrow, you know what they do. You kind of get used to it, that they introduce stuff like this, and then it's kind of either forgotten or not that big of a thing. We'll see if this comes back in any way, they do play around with it a bit, where, Sara gets shot or something like that, and she heals herself, and they sometimes use this in some of the plans. Not too often, but, they use it, and it's interesting, neat little thing. Nothing too special, like I said, but that's Legends of Tomorrow for you. But most of all, it's about Sara and Ava as a couple, how they cope with being apart for so long, and maybe even thinking they will never get back together again. But then naturally, at the end, the finale, they finally get married. Before the world ends, they get married, and it's such a sweet, sweet ceremony, and I'm so glad we finally were able to see that. Okay, other characters I want to highlight are, first of all, Astra. Astra is now like a proper member of the Wave Rider team, and she gets to do some cool magic stuff alongside John Constantine, which I think is great. They have a bit of a student-teacher dynamic, especially in the first couple of episodes, which I think is great. In the first couple of episodes, I thought, they don't really use her that much, or not as much as I would like to, but they do more with her in later episodes. And like I said, the chemistry she has with Spooner is great. We get it especially in the second half of the season. I think that's a wonderful pair. I think those two work together, like they work especially well. So it's fun to see Astra trying to work out, how does the magic work? I want to learn that. Is John going to teach me? Is someone else going to teach me? Which is actually part of an episode that I want to highlight later. So I think it's like a good introduction of Astra as like a proper member of the team. But I do hope that she gets like more focus and even more development in future episodes, because especially now with John gone, as we find out toward the end, I think she's now gonna be like, the main magic user character of the show, like for the team, and I hope that's what she grows into. It she becomes like this master of the dark arts, or whatever you want to call it, and keeps learning, but is different naturally than John when it comes to using magic and so on. So I do have hopes for Astra becoming one of the great characters in future episodes. Let's talk about Zari. Zari number 2 and OG Zari. So I I like Zari too, but definitely not as much as OG Zari. That much is clear, I think. And I wasn't too sure when they started introducing, I think already in the last season, the romance between Zari and John Constantine. Like, don't get me wrong. If John's happy, I'm happy. I just want that magic man to be happy and not get involved in shit all the time, which didn't work out this season. But there you go. But what I like what they did is that they tried to like actually include Zari 2 and OG Zari, that they actually like split up the time they get outside the totem, which is especially great for Nate. Like Nate actually gets to spend time with OG Zari again, and that episode where they go out on like a date in the woods. Fantastic. I miss these two together. Those two, I know they didn't have a lot of screen time in the season where they got together, but they were a wonderful couple and was so good to see these two back together again. And naturally, it's very funny to sort of play around with that John is like, okay, where's my Zari? What are we doing now? It's kind of weird to watch you flirt with Zari, but Zari is actually not John's Zari right now, but OG Zari. It's weird. It's Legends of Tomorrow. We all know, we kind of know what we're talking about, right? So that was fun to see that they, and I hope they keep doing that they include both OG Zari and Zari number 2, and which should be especially interesting considering that John isn't around anymore. So maybe OG Zari is now going to spend more time out of the totem and be with Nate and some of the other people from the gang. Who knows? But I think I enjoyed Zari 2 a bit more this season than I did in the previous one, since now there is a bit more focus on her relationship with Constantine and how they both deal with, being in the proper relationship, calling each other girlfriend, boyfriend, that sort of thing. And it was fine, though I believe that Zari overreacted a bit when she found out during the second half of the season that John is kind of being the bad guy, and that he's actually the one who's been bothering them in one of the episodes. We're going to talk about that. And I thought, considering that they spent so much time on emphasizing that she, wants John to be honest, and that it's fine to be vulnerable and all that sort of stuff, and that he's not broken, and he's fine, and they're gonna be happy, etc., etc. She was a bit, for my taste, a bit too judgy when she finds out that he's actually the bad guy, and she was immediately like, well, guess my boyfriend is now an asshole, and I hate him. Can we please talk about that my boyfriend is a twat? And I was like, sorry, bit harsh. Like, her turnaround was a bit quick, and I know later she like kind of tries to like still help him, all that, but there was sometimes swings in her moods in regards to John where I was like, don't be so judgy, since you talked about not being judgy in the earlier episodes. Which brings me to the man, the myth, the legend, John Constantine, who is, as I mentioned, the reason why I started watching Legends of Tomorrow in the first place. So John leaves. He leaves at the end of season 6. He's not around anymore. Matt Ryan is gonna stick around, I think, but he plays like a new character. So that was the last time he played Constantine, and it was so sad to see him go, because Matt Ryan is a fantastic John Constantine, especially for like this kind of universe. And I know they had to change some aspect of the Constantine character to fit more into, like the Legends of Tomorrow show and the vibes they were going with. But nevertheless, I had so much fun with this character, and he's always been my favorite ever since he turned up in season 3 for the first time. So I was glad that they gave him at least like one of the major storylines in this season, which is that he loses his magic abilities, which happens as a result of Astra doing magic and stuff goes wrong. And he loses his magic and tries to get it back, and he goes through like some kind of personal crisis, which made so much sense to me. Like he himself says in one of the episodes, this is something that made him special, that defined him, that, he's just like this boy from Northern England who was told his whole life that he's weird, that he's unusual for being bisexual, that doesn't conform to mainstream, but magic was the one thing that he was able to do. Like, this is the one thing that was special to him, and that felt he was good at, and that made him powerful and special. And then that is just gone, and he so desperately tries to get it back. And I thought that made a lot of sense, and I wish they would have a tiny bit more included that he maybe considers the idea together with Zari, who tries to kind of help him through this, to get to the point where he's like, okay, no, I can accept that I can be someone without magic. And I know he kind of gets there, but I wish they would have played around with that a little bit more before going like a full 180, doing a full 180 again. Because it turns out that, like, John tries to get his magic back, and the way he does it is he goes evil. He pulls like a full Jekyll and Hyde, which was fantastic. I thought that was so much fun to watch Matt Ryan just act that. That was a lot of fun. And he becomes addicted to like this blood magic stuff he's drinking. And you can definitely see like the parallel here, that this like the drug addiction analogy that's going on here, which I think works wonderfully for John Constantine's character. That makes a lot of sense that he would be a kind of guy you write the story for. And it was sad to see him fight through this, because he kept thinking, no, John, you're a better man. You can be better than this. You can get through this. Don't keep drinking that weird magic blood. You don't need it. But in a way, I appreciate the fact that they weren't taking the easy route, that they were showing, yeah, you can, outside people can just say, stop taking it and it's all gonna be better. But, people do have relapses, and they say, yeah, I know this is a bad thing, but I take it anyway because it's a coping mechanism, or because the desire within him is so deep to get his magic back. He does all of this bad stuff anyway because he just doesn't know how else to cope with it. That made a lot of sense to me, and I think that worked especially well for the John Constantine character, even though, like I said, I wish they would have included a bit more of a character arc in there, maybe, because at the end of the day, he screws all of them over to get his magic back, and that's what basically kills him at the end. Because he's like, yeah, no, Zari, I'm fine, we're gonna get through this, it's cool. And then he gets in contact with Bishop, and Bishop kind of manipulates him or talks him into it. And then John is like, yeah, no, I'm going to screw over the whole crew so I can get my magic back. Which kind of hurt. And in a way, I can kind of see it, because John he's not a hero. John Constantine is not a hero. If anything, he's an anti-hero. But even that, I wouldn't necessarily call him. He just does his own thing. He just does his own thing. So in a way, you could argue it made a lot of sense what he did for like the John Constantine character to just be like that, even though I was hoping for a bit more like positive character development, because, I just want this man to be happy, and he gets all the shit all the time. And even now, at the end of season 6, he gets screwed over because he wants his magic back. He's screwed over his friends and gets stabbed in the back, and he dies. And I'm not gonna lie, I cried a little bit during his death scene, because I just love John Constantine. Even though his death moment, his death episode was, I think, a lot less big or spectacular than I thought it would be. Like, I felt a tiny bit underwhelmed once they were done. And, it's like, John is dead. The giant mushroom got him, and he's now gone. I was like, oh, hang on, that's really it? Like, that's it? That's how he goes out? Like, granted, he comes back, kind of, in the very last episode as, like, a ghost, and we see him that he's now trapped or doomed in hell again, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna do this on my own, I'm gonna walk my path, and then he just, like, disappears, which I guess means that he's not completely 100% dead. I'm not quite sure. But, it was kind of enough to see him at the end. Not being, dead in the ghost, but still doomed to hell, I guess. So, that's that. Okay, so those were some of the characters I want to talk about. Now to just mention a couple of episode highlights. First of all was the X Factor episode, which I thought was funny. Just like, it's literally the X Factor, the singing one, which was weird, but also so much fun. And, everyone trying to get involved, especially like Zari, and then they combine this with, her and John's relationship struggles. And at the end of the day, they get to the point where, yes, they accept they are in a proper relationship and call each other girlfriend and boyfriend. And they sing a song, and Constantine gets to wear like a really cool, good-looking punk music outfit, and that was just a great look. So yeah, that was just like a really, really fun episode, I thought. The next highlight I thought was really funny was when Nate saves the day by playing American football with JFK. That was so much fun. It's in the Bay of Squids episode. And that just had a great finale with Nate, who didn't have too much to do, unfortunately, this season. Which is sad, because he's actually one of my favorite characters in the gang at the moment. So it was really fun to see him just like go at it, and they play American football with JFK about like nuclear codes and shit like that, which is like something super serious. And they just play American football for it. But fantastic. I absolutely love that. The next episode I wanted to highlight is the Satanist's Apprentice, which is like the Astra episode, also kind of the Constantine episode. Like, Astra wants to learn magic, but John doesn't really want to teach her how to do it, so Astra decides to do it on her own, and she contacts like an evil portrait of Crowley in the attic of the house, and that was so much fun to see Astra getting, first of all, just like a focused episode, because Astra, I think, is a very interesting character, and just like screw up magic. And is this the episode where we get like a full Disney-style animation? I think that's the one where we get like a full Disney-style animation at some point in the episode, which was so much fun. I just love it when they like screw around with like the genre or do like parodies of stuff. That was so much fun. And like I said, Astra is, I think, a great character, so I'm so glad she got like this one special episode about her and her magic uses. So I hope that's something that's also gonna get picked up later down the road. Then we get a Western episode, which was fun, which I like mostly because of, all like the cowboy Western get-ups. That one was really, really fun. Then we get 2 episodes. I think, is it 2 episodes? Oh no, those are later, sorry. So first off is the Berard episode. Berard is sweet. I love Berard, but he doesn't get enough focus. He needs to get more focus as a character. And he finally gets one of those. In the This Is Gus episode, where as a birthday present traveled to like the set of his favorite sitcom, and he gets like to interact with the actors on set and talk to them about why the show means so much to him, especially like as someone who grew up as a Muslim and all that, which was so good. That was so much fun to see, and I hope Berard gets more like highlight focused episodes in the future season, because he's a very fun character and he has great chemistry with basically everyone on the Wave Rider, and he's a lot of fun. The actor does a great job with him, so I hope we get to see more of Berard in the future season. Next up is the Bad Blood episode, which was basically the episode where Constantine goes evil. So this is where he tries to find, together with Spooner, tries to find the Fountain of Imperium so he can get his magic back. And it doesn't work, which is when he decides to take like this, well, literally bad blood that gives him back his magic, and he just goes full on serial killer and murders the shit out of a bunch of, was it Nazis, Nazi soldiers, something like that. And he just goes full on evil, and that was fucking badass. Obviously it was bad, because you were like, oh no, if John goes evil, we have a problem. But it was also kind of fucking badass. So that one was cool. And then we have, those are the 2 episodes I wanted to mention earlier, the 2 gaming episodes, I'm going to call them. The first one is about bowling, just the one where they get trapped, a couple of people get trapped in this outer space bowling alley, and they have to save the Earth by winning the bowling game, which they actually managed to do somehow. This is just the kind of episode where I'm like, yeah, this is peak Legends of Tomorrow ridiculousness and nonsense. It's, about the end of the world, which is tied to a ridiculous concept, in this case, bowling with planets. Sure, why not? And the follow-up episode to that is the Cluedo episode, where they have time and want to play like a board game run by Gary. And John, you know, with his new cool magic, where he becomes all like, haha, I can do cool magic now, let me just do some cool shit. And he like magics all of them into this whodunit board game, and it's so much fun. It's like set in John's house. Everyone gets like dressed up in period Victorian clothes, and there's a murderer, but they don't know who, and people die one by one, and it's super emotional. I don't know how real is it. It's just fun. Again, this is just a great example for Legends of Tomorrow doing ridiculous stuff and it just being fun, because they can play around with all those ridiculous concepts. And then naturally, at the end, we find out John is actually the murderer who's been running around the house. You know, he literally like sort of fights himself in the attic, like this evil version of himself. And Zari at the very end finds out that it's actually been John who's doing all of this bullshit, and this kind of leads to all of the other stuff that goes on later in the season. So yeah, that was a fun episode as well. Okay, so those were all the things I wanted to highlight about season 6 of Legends of Tomorrow. Like I said, fun season, maybe not as good as previous ones, but nevertheless, I think Legends of Tomorrow Goes Strong is still the absolute wild ridiculousness that you've known for now, that you've known for 6 seasons now. It's going to be interesting to see who they bring on next, since Mick is now gone. I'm assuming maybe Matt Ryan's new character is going to come back or come back in as a main character, who knows. But, you know, Sara is now the last OG legend. Which, I mean, I'm kind of counting Nate as an OG legend since he's been there since season 2, so he's been around for a long time as well. But yeah, it feels weird how the team has changed over the years, and now Mick is gone. I'm definitely gonna miss him. He was one of my favorite like OG legends, but I think it was a good point for him, point in time for him to go out and now raise this weird, cute family of Cthulhu tentacle aliens. And I think there's a lot of potential for some of the other characters to get more highlights in season 7, which is gonna start airing very soon, I think, in October. So yeah, those were my thoughts on Legends of Tomorrow season 6. Do let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are on season 6. Did you enjoy it? What were some of your favorite episodes or character highlights? Do tell me down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done already, and I'll see all of you next time. Goodbye.